weird coming back to this place. I say back because about 40 years ago, believe it or not, I lived in the next street, St Michael's Road, and used to have things called Labour Party Young Socialist meetings in this hall when there was a youth section of the Labour Party. And in this very building we would have meetings of the LPYS. We all belonged to the militant tendency which had taken over the LPYS. We were Trotskyite interests in the Labour Party. Anyway, it occurred to me before this was set up, this particular reading, that it'd be a good idea to combine some of those experiences with some of the rhetorical strategies of the New York School of Poets. And as a result of that, I wrote a poem, first in a sequence, I hope, to one of my former comrades. So this is for Anil Kumar Singh, and it's called, it's about playing Scrabble late into the night, drinking homebrew, plotting revolution, that kind of thing. It's called Trotsky's The Stalinist School of Falsification. Mrs. Burns' dictionary of preposterous words lay closed upon the bed. I opened it up at page 13. Aasvogel, abastinate. In Scrabble it was the smallest which mattered most, swilled like elderberry homebrew. It tilts tiles like a goatee over the board. Your goatee beard. Herr Wagenholmbu's 10th Symphony for Fjord and Solo Glacier thrilled alongside each borgling demijohn a pinky could cant by its ear. Qutlub, an Islamic holy man. Lurp, to snap the fingers. And Couch, Enzaxt, Plob, Epting, Quiv, and Lul. It is after 2 a.m. The roll-up stubbed out inside and under this mug rim is straw for the bricks of Babel. All the leagues a language might have travelled from Tianjin. Though the great jote be broken, now the caucus convener's caucus convener be besmeared with blue lock dirt and few recall her, still the word that gallops daily ever closer is charged more with will than mere sense. Go ahead, take a majority on the Central Committee, but we will go to the sailors. Last quote was from Lenin, by the way, in case anybody's interested. Quoted by Trotsky in his School of Stalinist Falsification. The work I finished more recently is set in York. This is York Wall's walk work, and it's a tour basically of the walls of York, stopping at various points. Each poem is a sort of brick-shaped haibun, and there are 28 of these on the circuit with the haibun, the small part of the haibun, the haiku part, rising and falling to match the solar year, the lunar month, the seasons. Each one has a kind of specific character. In this case it's Anne Lister of Shibden Hall, Gentleman Jack as she was known, who spent a lot of time in York. And this particular point on the circuit is Victoria Bar, a little known and blocked up bar until 1840. It was blocked up for about 400 years. So it seemed to me to be appropriate for the character of Anne Lister, a gay woman who was erased, as it were, virtually from history until very recently. Eliza left us, a first barefoot in the slope that will spiral ever upwards. No bereftness there, no trauma source required. A child's daily whippings don't cut it. Accept and on. The origin of self-colloquy, not a spur or sigh of indrawn breath as prelude or to prepare. No inspiration. The magnetic north of her inclining is compassed complete as this black-clad clarity. to confound by calmly fronting autogenesis, rise uniformly clear ex nihilo, concealed words for all whose words were silenced, the discipline of the morning star to rise at 5 to practice the flute, Greek, algebra, French, in breaches for a new gate to reveal 1839, Lownlith Arch, secluded, blocked for centuries, forgot and lonely as a sky, Old Norse cloud. Dark foliage, treed and shady, quiet even at lunch hour, these streets, the other side of the wall from roaring nunnery and fancy down Bishop roads. Behind the bar for a queen who could not credit it, this love and only love, the fairer sex, and thus be loved by them in turn, my heart revolts from any other. Entanglement of lanes, embalmed crypt, a code easy to be astray in, as in a neat hand for Mariana, Isabella, Anne. A nameless tie in that soft intercourse which blends us into one. Citizen of a new mind, that mine undermines the raw small town son who wheels and deals to confound their bully preserves, men who burn you and your wife in effigy. As Halifax to Paris has this fulcrum, York, beginnings, ends, a pickled fetus, a woman's severed head for Cuvier, anatomies a swarm with lice you singe off to saw the skull, part the curd-white brain halls in Just glisten, seize the nerve to understand just this, how understanding may be possible is to break the taboo of a fixed orbit, ascent as ascent in that sacrament in Holy Trinity, Anne for Anne, and on to the conquest of Vignemal and Montperdu, as Budlier, beautiful enemy of the wall, for the sipping bean-mouth, a cascade made through Cunnery Wood, or the servants' tunnel passage to the Shibden Buttery. What's Manning, more than anyone can manage, ticked away so wantonly, like Icarus, but I have not fallen so far, the dying gaze still fixed on the snows of Ararat. I did a cut-up sequence once, along the lines of Ted Berrigan's The Sonnets. These are set in southwest Wales. And the first one is a cut-up of Enid Blyton. So I thought you may remember a phrase or two. And I've chosen a second one which repeats a couple of those phrases. There are 72 altogether. This is number 42. Timmy felt ashamed. Anne was rather ashamed. What feeling ashamed meant. He felt of herself. Dick took her hands away and made her look at him as if he would dearly like to smack this unpredictable, annoying, extraordinary yet somehow likeable ragamuffin girl. Well, I did, said Joe. I've squeezed through quite a lot. Might look at a king. Red Tower isn't a place. Red Tower is a man. I don't know, said Joe, who wasn't quite certain. He thought her a bad, cold-blooded, savage little monkey of little windows. I know how to wriggle, you see. She's just crazy on Dick, said Joan, taking up another saucepan. She looked at him as a slave, but he pitied her and admired her unwillingly for her courage. Joe loved a bit of kindness and couldn't resist this. How could Dick stand up for that awful girl? And this is the final one, 72, which has an epigraph from John Wiener's when he was asked how he wrote poetry, and he said, I just write down the most embarrassing thing I can think of. Hello, La Jolla. You'll understand. It's dead. Goodbye, the pathology, despite my great character. Jodhpur, Majolica, Badajoz, chopped pathos. The big E situation, impossible and impossible to change, that is so anguished there as to brush that hair. Timmy felt ashamed. His imperfect understanding of his art, of little windows. I know how to wriggle, you see, something of a puzzle. The trust involved in a friendship. Bet they were brass or hammered steel, formidable, affable, durable, lovely, arranged on her console at the party. It was blue. I would retaliate as sausages of Emilia Romagna. Dear Chris, you'll understand. It's 3 a.m. dead. Thank you.